Hi guys, in a previous video I talked about the for loop, and in this video, if you want to see that video, I put the link in the description and you can learn a lot about a for loop. In this video I'm going to talk about the while loop. And what does a while loop do? Let's see in a small project. So I'll set up my project. It's a C# project and it's a console application, so everything is fine here. I choose the name while loop and that's it. Create. Okay, so what is a while loop? A while loop, just like a for loop, is used for repetitious statements. If you want to do something many times in your application, in your program, you have to use one kind of a loop. A for loop or a while loop, they are not the same. They have different applications, and that's what we're talking about in this video. So let's write the simplest while loop, and that goes like this. Okay, we start with while, parenthesis, and okay. Right in the parenthesis, you need a condition, and that's all a while loop takes. A condition. That condition could be while I is smaller than 10. And this is the body of the while loop. But what is I? I'll set up I to be an integer of the initial value 0. So I is 0, I is already smaller than 10, so my condition is true, so we can go through the body. The body says console.write line, and what is the line? That's printing the value of I equals I. Okay, that's what we're going to print out, and let's see what happens. Okay, what happens here is simple. I is always smaller than 10. So you see that this is an endless loop. I is 0, so the console prints 0, and again I is 0, it's smaller than 10, and it prints. So we are missing one line of code here, that is I should be increased by 1 every single time we go through the loop, and this time everything will be fine. Okay, so what happened here? We went through the loop, I is 0, and we printed the 0, I was added by 1, and still our condition is true, so we go through the body of the loop again. This is the body of the loop, and I is added 2, 3, 4, 5, and when I is 10, the loop doesn't run anymore. Okay, so we finish by 9. If I change this line to I smaller or equals to 10, one more number will be added to the output. Okay, so this is the simplest type of a while loop, but the condition can be anything of the true or false type, anything of the Boolean type. A Boolean type can get two values, false or true. False would be 0 and true would be 1. So if we have a true value here, our loop will go on forever. Let's give it a try. So the loop, you see, the loop is going on and on forever. There is nothing to stop our loop, okay? So I'll stop it here. So what if I, instead of true, I use a function here? For example, I have a static function here. Well, what type should that function be? The function should be of the type Boolean, okay? But it must be a static function, bool, and this is going to make our condition, and it's not going to get any arguments, and our function returns simply true. And here, if I use the name of the function, it's just like there is no difference between using the function and using the output of the function. So it will run exactly the same way as before. Okay. But what is the use of using a function? What's the benefit? If you use a function, you can go through many statements and instructions, and in the end you come to a result and return that result, so you can decide whether the while loop goes on. You can decide how the while loop goes on in your function. For example, you can say if I is smaller than 10, return true. Okay, if I is smaller than 10, return true. And otherwise, return false. And here, I is taken from this, I is taken as an argument, okay? And here we have to give I to our function. And the result would be just like before, 0 to 9. So here we did all the calculation in the function, in the method, and the result was returned into the while loop. So the decision was made here based on the method we wrote over here. Okay, so this is a simple while loop. There is another type of while loop which is called do while. So instead of while over here, I write while in the end, okay, and I smaller than 10, because we want to make it as simple as possible. Int equals 0, and instead of this part, I just write do. Okay, so do the body of the while the condition is true. This is the syntax of do while. And what is the difference here? What is the difference between a do while and a while loop? I want to change this condition to false. So if it is false, it's not going to go through the loop at all. Or is it right? Let's give it a try. Okay, you can see the result, the output is I equals 0. So we went through the loop once, though the condition was false. So if I use a while loop with a false condition, we will never go through the loop. But if I use do while, we will run the body of the loop at least once. So what happens in a do while? First, it runs the body, then checks the condition. But it's not the same with a while loop. With a while loop, first the machine checks the condition, then goes through the body. But with a do while, the machine runs the body, then checks the condition. Okay? So that's the difference between a do while and a while loop. And there are a few ways to stop a while loop, because while loops are not about counting. On the contrary to for loops, while loops are not about counting. Okay? The difference between a for loop and a while loop is that for loops run for a certain or definite number of times, but while loops are not going to count anything. It's all about the condition. So it's very important to be able to stop these while loops in different ways. So I put true as condition. So this is a while loop which goes on forever. It never stops. And I'm going to write something in the output. Write line. And okay, I'm going to print the value of I again. Okay. So this is my while loop. But the condition is true. So the while loop is going to go on forever. It never stops. Unless I put an extra condition here. If I is greater or equal to 100, break the loop. What does the statement break do? The statement break will instantly stop the while loop and go out of the loop. So if I put any statements over here after the while loop, the break will jump to that statement. So console.write line break jumped here. So what do we expect? We expect the loop to run for 100 times, and since with number 100 the condition of if will come true, we will break the loop and jump over here where the message break jumped here will be run. And again, we'll give it a try. Okay, so after 100 times, this is 100 times because we started at 0. After 100 times, we jumped to this statement. And but we said that for loops and while loops are different, because for loops are used when a definite number of repetitions is necessary. But on the contrary, while loops are ideal for unknown numbers of repetitions. So when you don't know how many times you're going to repeat your instructions, you use a while loop. But how does that work? I'm going to put an example over here. My example is I will use two variables, I and j, and I better use a do while. Okay, do this is the body, while my Okay, what is my condition? My condition is that while the sum of I and j is greater than 100, okay, while the sum of I and j is smaller than 100, do the loop. Okay, what am I trying to do here? Here in this example, I'm trying to add up I and j, okay, to add up I and j and see if they are higher than 100 or lower than 100, because the value lower than 100 is not desirable to me. I only want the sum of I and j to be higher than 100. When it becomes higher than 100, that is my desired values for I and j. It doesn't matter to me what I is and what j is. The only thing that matters is that I want them to be higher than 100. Okay, the sum of them should be higher than 100. So, but where do I get I and j? They are going to be random numbers. Random R and D. Okay, so I is going to be a random number, smaller than 55, between 0 to 54, okay? And j is going to be a random number, exactly the same instruction, but R and J are going to be different numbers because these are random numbers between 0 to 54. Okay, so you see that it's not, it's going to take a few tries to get two numbers higher, whose sum is higher than 100, okay? If I and J are random numbers between 0 and 54, the sum will not easily be more than 100, so it needs a few tries. But how many tries? How many times shall I try this? I don't know. I don't exactly know, okay? So to keep track of what happens here, I'm going to have an output. Okay, this is I and this is J. Okay, we're going to see what Ji and J are, and this time we can count, we can see how many times it takes for us to get the desired result. Okay, you see this time these are the outputs. We got 2847, 362. The sum of none of them is more than 100, but as soon as we get two numbers, 52 and 51, whose sum is 103, and our condition comes true, the loop stops. Okay, if I do it once again, you can see that a different number of outcome will appear on the screen. So let's do it again. Okay, this time you see it's a longer list. If I do it once again, this one is even longer. And this time, only after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tries, we got the desired result. Okay, so once again, we got two random numbers, we added them up, and since they were not over 100, we did the loop again and again and again until we got the desired result, and we stopped the loop because we got it. Okay, so that's almost all about while loops. If you want to see my video about for loops, The link is in the description, and there is a card on the top right part of the screen. You can click them both. And if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and if you push that little bell button, you can be notified of my next videos. Thanks for watching.